Today we're talking all about running. Here we go. Hi, I'm Jessica Ballant, a physical therapist and Pilates teacher, and I want to bring science-based knowledge, empathy, courage, support, love, and hopefully some fun to the journeys we have with our bodies. There is hope and strength in your body, and my goal is to help you find it. Hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. It is so nice to be talking with you today. We're actually talking about a subject that I have a lot to say around, so I'm really excited to get to it. I have to tell you, though, what I'm looking at right now in my house. So if you have followed for a while and you know our saga or our journey as a family, we moved. It's been almost 6 months now. So in summer of 2024, we moved, and we just moved 20 minutes from our old house. Okay, so we've lived in Denver. I actually came to Denver in 1998 for physical therapy school. I first visited Colorado when I was 16 years old, fell in love with it. I knew I wanted to come back, so I came here for physical therapy school and stayed, met my husband here, and we decided before we had kids or anything, before we were even married, we're like, you know what, we are beach people. We need to go try to live on the beach. So we moved to Hawaii and ended up loving it. Like, I can't even explain how much we loved it, and like created our entire life there. We had no plans on leaving. We thought that was it. We were going to stay forever. We had our daughter there. And then, life changes and throws you curveballs, and we ended up back here to help take care of family. And so we've been back here for, 8 years now, maybe 7 years, had our son here, kids in school. And so this is our home. And then we still go back to Hawaii as much as possible. So we're in Colorado, and we moved to a different house about, like I said, 6 months ago. And this is a house, this kind of lifestyle, something we had been really dreaming about for a long time, but without being able to put words on it, if that makes sense. Like I knew my soul and heart wanted something, and my husband had too, and we always talked around it, and we never really knew what it meant until we kind of saw this area in this house, and we're like, oh, we want space. Like, we want out, we want to be in nature. So we're very much in nature. We see coyotes outside, we see elk outside. We're in the mountains, but we still get down to Denver really easily in 20 minutes. So that's where we are. And part of moving was promising our daughter, she's 11, that we would find a house where we could install silks. Okay, I know this is turning into a long story, but stay with me. If you've ever seen Cirque du Soleil and the performers who do aerial arts, our daughter does that, and she's phenomenal, and she's done it for a couple years now, and she loves it. And they do the lyra, and they do silks and hammocks and trapeze and all of that. And it's beautiful and so fun. So we just love her doing it. And we always talked about trying to have it at home, which is kind of funny. Like, you need high ceilings, and our other house was small, no yard. But we told her if we were going to move, a huge thing for us moving was this was going to be our family home for a very long time, but also the place that we really wanted to do everything we could together in the next, 10, 12 years while the kids are still at home, because then they'll be moving off to college. So it was very, very much a specific, intentional goal of the things we love to do together as a family, and making that happen in this new home that we wanted to create. So when we were looking at houses, which we did for a very long time and looked at a lot of houses, always my husband and I, one of the first questions is, where could we install aerial? Like in a garage with a high ceiling, or we couldn't be outside because it's snowy and cold here half the year. So we always looked at that. So this house did have a spot for it. And that was just part of the plan, was we needed a house that had a ceiling that was possibly high enough in at least one part of the home. And I'm not kidding. Some of these houses we looked at, excuse me, it was in the middle of the living room, right? It had just a vaulted ceiling only in the living room. We're like, well, that's where it would be. That's what we would do. And so we're in this house, and the high ceilings are like right basically between the living space, the main living space, and the kitchen. It's just all one big open space. So the highest part of the ceilings are right there, and I can see it from my office. as well, like right into that space. So my husband, being the amazing engineer, construction person, his brain works that way with measurements. He owned a home improvement business for a long time. He's in real estate. Like, this is his jam, and he loves his kids. And he's like, I trust myself to keep her safe. And so he developed this entire plan for months. He planned, ordered all the special stuff that we need. And this weekend, the installation finally happened. So I am literally looking at these big, beautiful aerial silks hanging down from our ceiling right outside, like it literally in the hallway, because that's where the highest part of the ceiling is. And it makes me so happy. The kids came up this morning and immediately took them down and just were swinging on them. Like our 7-year-old, our son, just could swing on them. That's what he can do, but he thinks it's the coolest thing. He just hangs on and swings around, and she's doing all of her performance stuff. Anyhow, so that's what I'm looking at right now. And I even grabbed hold I'm like, okay, I'll swing on these. And you guys, like, they are hard. It is hard. And I've done it with her before, but still recovering from my mastectomy. Like, my grip strength and my arm strength is still the most limited part. Man, it's so hard, so strong. Anyone out there who does this stuff, I just think it's the coolest, and you're so strong to do it. So I just had to tell you my view, what I'm looking at right now. And in addition to that, lest you think that we left our 7-year-old out, oh no. We also left a good portion of the living room completely with no furniture, because my husband hung up a basketball hoop in the living room. In the living room. Now, granted, it's not totally full size, but it's a pretty good size still. And it's hung up against the wall. And so we have a little part of the living room that's dedicated to shooting hoops as well. And also, just like, I'm a part of this too, because our primary bedroom is not a bedroom. No. We share another bedroom that's closer to the kids. Like, it actually worked out that way because our bedroom is close to the kids. But the primary bedroom is the Pilates room. That's where the reformer is. That's where all the workout stuff is. So I'm telling you, you can create a home around whatever it is that you would like. I mean, we always thought, okay, we'll find this, right? You look for this perfect, I'm saying in air quotes, home with the spaces you want or need. And we always laughed that, like, our needs are so unique, and it's just our wants. That's it. Like, we each needed an office. I needed filming space, and I needed a reformer room, right? Like, that's what we needed. And so I was happy to take the smaller bedroom so that we had a really fun, cool reformer room for all the Pilates and all the workout stuff. So make your home what makes your soul happy. And to be honest, what makes my soul happy is being able to be in the kitchen, cooking dinner, and watching our kids run around and use their bodies and play and laugh and have fun. And then we get to participate with them. And that's what makes my soul happy. So that's what we did. And we really like to be outside as much as possible. But like I said, we knew this was going to be the plan because Colorado's cold in the winter and snowy. And especially up here in the mountains, it's more so. So that's what we do. And today, though, after that long story, we are talking about running. Okay, this is such an important conversation to me, and actually a very, very personal conversation to me. So I'm going to give you lots of facts, as always. We're going to come at it with facts and knowledge, and then hopefully a really empowering message. And I'm going to give you some personal experience I have as well. So this is kind of coming from a couple things. One is I feel in the fitness world that running has become somehow this gold standard. And really, it's most of us just in our minds, but we kind of feel like running is the gold standard of cardiovascular exercise, okay? So cardiovascular exercise is for your heart, getting your heart rate up for a sustained period of time. And you can do that in lots of different ways. I mean, dancing, jogging, cycling, swimming. There's so many ways that you can get your heart rate up. But jogging and running are kind of this gold standard. We all think, oh, I should be able to do that. Or, oh, look at those runners. They're so awesome. I want to do that. If I can't do that, then I'm not healthy, right? So we kind of have it as this gold standard. So I think it's important to talk around that because, as always, we come at everything we do here with a message of eliminating all shame, eliminating all defeat, and replacing that with actionable things we can do instead. So it's really important to me to address this message. Another piece, and why I was really kind of nudged into making this podcast now, is I have seen this really for the past year or two all over social media. Many fitness, I would say just content, okay? A lot of content I see from personal trainers and fitness folks. There's like a couple standards that they say that we should be able to achieve in order to be healthy. And we're talking, I think it says be able to do, 10 pull-ups, which by the way, I can't do. I'm just going to tell you that right now, okay? I can't do those. So that's why I'm talking about these so-called standards, because they're not based in scientific fact, okay? So pull-ups is one. But the one that I want to talk about is being able to run a mile without stopping. And I've seen this from quite a few people. Again, people who own gyms, people who are all over the fitness place, posting, if you can't run a mile without stopping, you are not healthy. I've seen that version. I've seen what is wrong with you. I've seen if you can't run a mile without stopping, you have to do better. I've seen all of that messaging. And it's really important to me to make sure that after this podcast, that not being able to run a mile without stopping is not an indicator of your health. Okay? So that's where kind of all of this came from. And then one other thing I want to really throw out there before we jump into the meat of the podcast is, if you love to run, keep doing it. Please. That's awesome, because I have worked with thousands of runners as a physical therapist in my career, and they are some of the most passionate people I know about the sport that they love. And so keep doing it. This is 0% a podcast about denouncing running, because it has a lot of benefits. It has so many benefits. So please know that off the bat, that absolutely, if you love to do it and it works for your body, keep doing it. There are so many benefits. So I want to really encourage you to do it if you love it and you can. What I want from today's podcast is to actually talk to those of us who can't run for various reasons, who don't run for various reasons, and or who feel ashamed or defeated because they're in that grouping that can't run. That's who I want to talk to today, to make sure that you know that you have some alternatives. So let's jump in. All right, so let's start with the definition of running. If you look it up, if you just Google definition of running, it says moving fast on your feet, which makes me laugh. Definitions really make me laugh sometimes. Moving fast on your feet. I'm going to tell you how I look at it as a physical therapist when we're looking at gait, okay? Your gait is your walk. It's your ambulation. How do you get from point A to point B on your feet? That is gait. And in general, a very simplified way that I think of running is when you are walking, you have at least one foot on the ground at all times. Okay. When you move into a run or a jog, there is a moment when both feet are off the ground. So it's a speed issue, and that's different for all of us depending on the length of our legs and just various things. That speed is different for all of us, but there's always a point. If you start walking fast enough, there's going to be a point that you have to turn it into a jog in order to keep going with balance. And kind of the definition there, how I look at it, again, as a physical therapist, is if you have a moment during that gait where both feet are off the ground, you're going fast enough that both feet are off the ground for a moment, that is a jog or a run. And then again, right, we all know everybody runs at a different speed. You can have a sprint, you can have a jog, you can have a run, but they all have that basic premise behind it. And yes, there are benefits to running. Absolutely. It gets your heart rate up, okay? It gives you cardiovascular benefits. Cardiovascular benefits include, so meaning when you are working your heart in that way, when you get your heart rate up for a sustained period of time, you are helping not only your heart health, but you can help your blood pressure. You help insulin resistance as you age, especially. So there are benefits to cardiovascular activity. It helps your brain. So that's a benefit of running, is it gets your heart rate up. It helps your bone density. Okay. So that compression on the ground, that impact actually can help your bone density. It's closed chain. So same idea, your feet are hitting the ground. As a physical therapist, I love closed chain. It really is good for our joints and our tendons and our ligaments. So it's a closed chain exercise. It's easy access for most people. Not everyone, but for most people, it's something that if you have a pair of running shoes or tennis shoes, you can generally, right, put them on, go out the door and find somewhere to jog or run. And again, that is not the case for all of us, and I'm going to get to that later. But for most of us, it is. So those are some of the benefits of running. And then there's so many others. I know if you're a runner, you're probably like, yes. And also community. Yep. If you run with friends, it's a huge sense of community and mental health. It releases endorphins. You can have races and those things to look forward to. It gets you out in nature, all of those benefits. I also want to say there are other ways to get those benefits, which is why I haven't quite brought them up here. I really wanted to speak to the specific benefits of running. All right. And then now I want to give you just a couple cons, because there are cons to every exercise modality. All right. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to tell you to do anything all the time and only do that thing. So some cons to running, because again, there are cons to everything. There is a lot of compression on the joints. So that compression can be very beneficial, but also then depending on the body, depending on the person, the length of time, that compression can also cause some problems long term. My biggest con, just from a physical therapy standpoint, is that it's one plane of motion, meaning you are moving forward, and that's it. You're moving forward. And there are other exercises that are the same. I'd say the same con for cycling, right? One plane of motion. And that's a big reason why I am just telling people who love to run and cycle, I want you to cross train. I want you to strength train as well. You need to work your hips side to side. You need to work your glutes. Like if you're a runner, you know this. You absolutely know this. But one con to running is, again, just one plane of motion, forward and backward. And then it's not necessarily full body. Again, a lot of things aren't, but I would just bring that sometimes into a con. So why is running touted then as the ultimate exercise? And I'm going to say, honestly, I don't necessarily know. Like, I can't put my finger on it, except that it is one of the oldest forms of exercise, right? I mean, I can't look back and find pictures from 200 years ago, people doing Pilates. It wasn't invented yet. People weren't necessarily picking up weights, or if they were, it was the people who had access to weights. Running has been around for a very, very long time. I mean, as far back as humanity, right? We were running to kill the food that we needed. So running has always been around. It does, again, have a lot of benefits to it. It uses the natural motion of the body itself. And in general, it's an easily accessible exercise, meaning if you have a pair of tennis shoes, you can go out the door and do it. I think that is why it's kind of put on a pedestal as the ultimate cardiovascular exercise. And here is where I want to come in and say why I have a problem with that. And I would probably, again, have a problem with anything that we touted as this is the best. This is the only thing you should be doing, and this is the best. It's because there's a lot of us who can't do it for various reasons, okay? And I will say I am one of them. I experienced a severe prolapse after the birth of our first daughter 11 years ago. I had actually run a half marathon a little bit before getting pregnant. And I'll be the first to say running is not natural for me. It is not easy for me. It is always work, always. But I wanted to do it. I just had it in my head. I loved the training. I did the half marathon. I felt so good about myself, but I knew I was probably done. I didn't have like a big desire to do more races. I just wanted to kind of tick off a box and see if I could do it. But I liked the idea that I could. That was the point. I liked the idea that, again, living in Hawaii, I could throw on my shoes and run out the door and get a great cardio workout. I mean, that to me was the biggest benefit, the ease of access to it. Had my daughter, severe prolapse, and my entire understanding of exercise and what my body could do changed. And running is known to be just about the worst thing that you can do for a prolapse. And so I absolutely couldn't do that. And there are so many other conditions that you can't run. I posted about this recently, and a very good friend of mine, a colleague who has MS, multiple sclerosis, wrote, yeah, I can't do that either. Thank you so much for mentioning this, for saying this. So MS, fused ankles. Okay, there are many people out there who have surgeries to fuse their ankles. Arthritic knees, people with balance issues, postpartum, as I mentioned, pelvic floor dysfunction, labral tears in your hip can make running hard. Not impossible by any means, but harder. And then also, I said I was going to bring this up, but there are some people who really don't have access to safe places to run, or don't have access for getting outside and doing that, or don't have access to a treadmill. So there are many of us, for various reasons, who can't physically actually run a mile. And even if we wanted to, right? So I would say, okay, I want to train, I want to do it. There might be some days I could, but I will tell you, because I tried it this summer because I wanted to get back to trail running, and I trashed my body pretty bad, and my pelvic floor needed a big break. Like I couldn't do it. I wanted to. And so pushing myself to do it wasn't the smartest thing for my body. So running isn't accessible to all of us for many reasons. And so that statement that fitness people sometimes make, saying, okay, if you can't run a mile without stopping, you're not healthy. I have a big problem with it, because health isn't defined necessarily by being able to run a mile without stopping. Many of us have issues that prevent us from doing that one movement. But you know what? We can do other things, and we can get cardiovascular benefits and cardiovascular exercises in other ways. And so I want to talk about that as well. But really, I want to say, if you are one of those people, please give yourself a whole lot of grace that there are so many other exercise modalities that you can do to get the same benefits of running. And I know if you've been a runner before and you suddenly feel like you can't, I know that's really, really hard. And so I want to honor that too. I understand it's hard. I know it feels like you'll never feel the same kind of runner's high or that endorphin high again. And I'm here to say maybe not. I don't want to take that away from you. I'm not going to suddenly say that, going for a swim is going to give you the same feeling as running, because I know it might not. But I'm always going to help you focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do. So I want us to focus on what we can do. And I also, again, want to really take away that shame and defeat around feeling like, oh, if I can't do that one motion, then it's not worth trying. I'm not valuable. And that is not the case whatsoever. Now, I also want to say, if you are in a situation that you feel like, I'm recovering from an injury or whatever it is, and my doctor has said I can run and I think I want to try it, I want to say go for it. And I've been in that situation too. After my prolapse surgery, the doctor said, you're fine, go run, go do whatever you want. I just don't feel that way physically. Like I want to mentally, I want to say, oh, I should be able to do this. But it doesn't always feel right physically. But what I will say is, if I go see a pelvic floor physical therapist who specializes in running and who's going to give me tools and say, you know what, we need your thoracic spine to be a little more mobile. Try these shoes, because she specializes in running. Try these shoes, and then let's get your hips stronger, and then let's try to run and see if that helps. I would be really excited to try that. I would feel supported, I would feel encouraged, and I would be held in that situation. So if you're someone who wants to run, I also say don't let anything bring you down, but find someone who can train you in the way that you need with your specific needs. As opposed to, again, if I go to see a personal trainer and I say, you know what, I can't run a mile, I have this, pelvic floor issue, and that's really hard for me. Well, everyone should be able to, and I'm going to help you do it, and just get on that treadmill and we'll just go faster, faster, faster. That is not the support and encouragement I need for my body in the situation that I have. So if it is something you want to do, yes, go for it. I think it's such a good goal to have, but also make sure that you're supported in your needs so that you are doing it in the best way possible for you, not because someone else is telling you how or why you should do it. Okay, so I want to run down the benefits of running so that you can see how there are alternatives to that if running isn't an accessible form of exercise for you. So the cardiovascular benefits, again, that is for your heart health, your blood pressure, all of those kind of things. And that happens with a sustained increase of heart rate. Okay. And it can be done in sustained, meaning like a steady state cardio. Like, again, it's kind of that jog or that cycle for 30 minutes that you can sustain it. Also, it could possibly be done with high intensity interval training workouts, and that is a little bit different. It still will help cardiovascularly, but it's not that sustained heart rate. So we're sticking with that sustained heart rate idea today. So yes, jogging and running will do it. Also, cycling will do it. And I bought an indoor cycling bike 5 or 6 years ago now, knowing with my pelvic floor issues that I wanted to have a more sustainable way to keep my heart rate up, which again, that works for me, but I know other people with pelvic floor issues that the bike doesn't work and they love the trampoline. So the trampoline's another option, which I actually cannot do with my pelvic floor. So that's why it's all different. It's so important to just decide what works for your body, but makes you happy, but also makes your body happy. So cycling, dancing, trampolining, various cardio classes out there like Zumba, or so many fun dance classes that you can do, the elliptical, climbing stairs. So I don't like, my favorite form of cardio actually at the gym for my pelvic floor and my issues. It's not the Stairmaster, okay? It's not the old school Stairmaster. It is the actual stair climber, sometimes called the gauntlet. And it is stairs that are constantly rolling, and you just climb them. It is climbing stairs, climbing stairs, climbing stairs, and it's the best. I love it. I love to climb. I see so much benefit from it, so that's what I use. So if you're looking at a cardiovascular benefit, you just need to look at something that gets your heart rate up for a sustained period of time. In my Unlimited community, in my app, we have a lot of cardio workouts, actually all indoor ones you can do at home. We have some kickboxing, we have indoor walking workouts. What do I have? A steady state cardio blast workout. We even have old school step aerobics there. So there are ways to get your heart rate up. So those are some ideas for the cardiovascular benefits. Then let's talk about the bone density benefits that you get from running. Walking will do that too. And walking with a weighted vest can be beneficial for that. Also, lifting weights. Lifting weights is the gold standard for helping your bone density and keeping your bones strong. So that alone, that's the gold standard, like I said. So be lifting your weights, that'll help your bone density. We talked about closed chain, right? So closed chain is this idea that you have either your feet on the ground, your hands on the ground, or on a wall, and that is closing the chain kind of for an exercise activity. And there are a lot of benefits to those kinds of movements. Lifting weights can do it. There are some Pilates moves that can do it. Body weight workouts do it. A lot of the balance workouts I have people do will do it. Planks are closed chain. There's so many. You probably are doing closed chain exercises without even knowing it. And then one of the benefits to running is, again, we talked about just accessibility kind of, right? You don't have to join a gym. You don't have to use equipment. You can just go out the door and go. You can do it easily when you're traveling. I, again, find that to be a great benefit, especially traveling. It is a fun way to get out and kind of see where you are, see the city. But again, there's so many other things you can do that don't use equipment. For me, and it might seem simplistic, for me, the best replacement to running was walking. That's what gave me the joy that I got from running, because I realized, like I told you, I wasn't great at running actually at all. And it didn't always feel good on my body. And I then found, when I started to replace things, I found I was actually getting a great workout with the other things I was doing. I used it as an opportunity to do more with weights. I started to include kind of some low impact, high intensity interval training workouts at home. I got into Pilates, my Pilates that I'd always done, but I found different benefits to Pilates. So I actually became really happy with the workouts that I did. But what I found was I was missing what I liked about running, which was great playlists, so music in my ears, being outside, exploring, breathing the fresh air, and just being on my own outside exploring. That was really it. And so I found, you know what, I'm just going to walk more. And I know, again, I know you might be rolling your eyes saying that's not the same. And I absolutely know it's not the same. But for me, that was the piece of running that I loved, that I was able to replace in a different way. And I actually found then workouts to also replace the benefits of my running in a different way. So I still want to go out and run those trails, and I still do sometimes. I really do. Like, if I can trail run once or twice a month, I am so happy. I say, thank you, body, for letting me do this. It is my happy place. I wish I could do more. And I also am not going to stay in that place of defeat. I'm just not, because I'm so happy I can do it when I do. And I'm so happy I can go lift and throw weights around. And I'm so happy I can get on my mat and do Pilates. So that's what I'm going to focus on. But what I'm saying is there are ways to replace all of those benefits of running. You can do it through other outlets, even kind of that emotional joy that you have from running. So, as I said, this was a little bit of a different podcast around running. I know I didn't tell you how to use your best runner's form. I didn't tell you what gels to take. I didn't tell you a training cycle or how to split your runs or how to get a PR, any of that. That's not what this podcast was for. It really was for any of you who have found that running is not accessible for you, that your body is not happy running, or if you unfortunately have lost the ability to love or the ability to run and you really loved it. For any of you, I wanted this to be an encouragement to say you are not missing out on an important form of exercise. You can find it in other ways and still be healthy. Believe it or not, you can even be stronger if you plan those workouts the right way. If you're missing the emotional aspect of running, I absolutely understand. I validate that, and I encourage you to decide what it is you loved about it and try to find that outlet in a different way, or possibly seek out that healthcare professional who is going to help you find ways to run. But no matter what part of your story you are in, remember, you can still be healthy. You can still be strong, even if running isn't a part of your life. Take that message with you today. And thanks for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today on Meet Your Body. If you have a moment, please consider rating and reviewing this podcast, as it helps us tremendously. For more resources and workouts, you can visit my website, jessicavallantpilates.com, or find me on YouTube or Instagram at Jessica Vallant Pilates.